So Godzilla vs. Kong was the last film I reviewed before I took my big break. I told you guys I was going to do a MonsterVerse ranking. Well, I still haven't done it, so that's exactly what I'm doing today. I'm going to rank all 4 MonsterVerse films from my baddest to my baddest. Here we go. Hello everybody, my name is Zachary Movie Chat, and I love movies, and I especially love big, blockbuster monster movies. But, okay, confession time. As much as I say I love monster movies, dinosaur movies, I think the MonsterVerse is pretty weak of a franchise. Like, nothing but my number 1 on my list is a fantastic movie. Every single movie in my 4-3-2 spot has flaws. Only my number 1 is a fantastic movie that I keep watching over and over again. And that number 1 might surprise you what it is, because, like, my 4-3-2, they're okay, but, like, they're not necessarily movies I'll ever want to watch again. So, it's just a frustrating franchise to me, because it has so much potential, but then they have to crowd the franchise with all these, human characters that no one cares about. You're going to be hearing that phrase a lot. Human characters that no one cares about. So, some of them are better than others, some of them are worse than others, but I'm going to tell you where mine stand. Just know that this isn't necessarily a franchise I love. It's a franchise made for me, but it has way too many flaws in the process, so I don't love this franchise, except the first movie on this. But before I tell you my ranking, I want you to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What is your ranking in the MonsterVerse? Do you love the MonsterVerse? If you'd rather have fun with it and quit repeatedly thinking about the film like a critic does, you'll probably love it. But as a critic, I have so much problems with this franchise. So many problems with this franchise. So, yeah. So, I'm gonna have you guys subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What is your ranking, and do you like the MonsterVerse? And with that said, here's number 4. And it is Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now, honestly, this was a film that in theater, my experience was incredible. I was very into the story. I was literally shouting at the characters, not shouting because we were in a theater. But I was like, come on, go, you're gonna die. But, obviously, the rewatch factor is down in the toilet. I love seeing this in the theater. I love seeing all this monster action. But I've seen the first 15 minutes of this film multiple times. And I just never could get all the way through it, because it just doesn't have a rewatch factor. The pacing isn't good either. This is a very, very bad pacing. It starts out in, like, this, entering us into the monster world, and then it's like monster action scene after monster action scene, and normally I love that, but after a while it gets really old, and especially, it also tries to focus on these human characters, and that way, as we go into the end of the film could feel just really jumbled and all over the place. Sure, it's got a lot of monster action, but it also has characters that we do not care about. But the action is really cool. The graphics are very cool. Millie Bobby Brown and Kyle Chandler are amazing additions to this franchise. They all did great in this film. But sure, the graphics are cool. The monster action is cool. But the story and the pacing, and I just never could rewatch it. Now, maybe if I actually did force myself to rewatch it all the way through, I'd love it, but it's going to get very difficult to force me to rewatch this whole film, because it's very hard to rewatch it, especially when you realize how bad this pacing is. There we go. Number 3 is Godzilla 2014. I'm a hypocrite. Yep, as much as I hate as much as I love monster action, and I hate the fact that all of our characters, they're put to the front and center instead of monster action, this film has too much monster action. Okay, yeah. Just spit it out. This film has way too many monster action. Way too much monster action. Okay, people are always like, this film doesn't have enough monster action. I'm like, this has way too much. Especially because we get to the third act, it clearly gets too rushy. Like, it's like monster action scene after monster action scene after monster action scene. And obviously, in this film, I personally care about these characters because the leads in this film, Elizabeth Olsen, they're great to watch on screen. They're great to see. So half the time I didn't even know what was happening to them because it was just too much monster action. And I know that people are always going to be like, this film doesn't have enough monster action, but to me, it is way too much. The story is just way too rushy. It goes from click to click to click to click to click. And I'm just like, okay, this is getting kind of boring now. And it's just not a very great addition to the franchise. Now, obviously, the new Godzilla look is amazing. And Elizabeth Olsen, stunning in this film. I just found myself bored heading into the third act, and I honestly couldn't wait for this film to get over. Maybe I'll rewatch it sometime. It just has, again, way too many problems and a lot of wasted potential to make like this big blockbuster movie that people could have loved. So, second place, GVK, Godzilla vs. Kong. I've actually seen this film twice, a couple days after I first watched it. Still not very good. And I say that with utter disappointment. Because this was one of my most anticipated of the year. I was hyped to see this film. Opening night, I was in my couch. Because I watched it on HBO Max. I was on my couch watching the film. In the first act, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then we entered the Hollow Earth plotline. We had to have the Hollow Earth plotline, didn't we? This Hollow Earth plotline. No one cares about it. I do not care about this Hollow Earth plotline. And sure, even the second time I'm watching it, the first two acts are really, really good. I enjoyed seeing all these fight scenes. But when they get into Hollow Earth, it just like throws all the standards down the toilet. They don't even know what they're doing anymore. Now, sure, this film should be wacky. And I'm happy that the film was wacky. It just should have been written better. And, okay, this is kind of being hypocritical, but if you're going to make a human story that you want people to get invested in, you can't just have, okay, there's this area called Hollow Earth, Kong's going to come here, kill everything, and then jump into a portal to go fight Godzilla. The Mechagodzilla plotline it's not a surprise. Everyone already knew that was coming. I was not surprised at all by this. And he looked pretty good. Like, the graphics here are great, but it's not a good twist. Just as we go to the third act, all the standards just go down the toilet. It makes you think, okay, that wasn't very good. And as much potential as this film had, and as good as the first two acts were, as good as the monster action in the first two acts were, as we go to the third act, I just couldn't care about it because of the stupid Hollow Earth plotline. Because it's not a very smart plotline for the directors and writers to just throw in this film. Now, again, monster action was great. That boat scene, even better the second time I watched it. All the scenes in the middle. And this just, it's second on this list because it's like, okay, 100%, if this was on DirecTV someday, I would turn this on and I would watch it. It's just not anything I'd like, oh yay, Godzilla vs. Kong, click, gonna watch the whole thing through. Especially as we go to the third act, it just throws the standards down the toilet, and it just gets boring and turns into this whack job. But number one, and this is the only great one on this list, Skull Island, hands down. Amazing film. I should probably upgrade this, but got this for Christmas, like the year it came out. I watched this film with my father, and we both thought it was awesome. Awesome monster action, awesome monster designs, and ironically, the film centered on Kong is the one I love. I don't necessarily love the ones with Godzilla in it. It's a Kong-centered one that I really loved. Alright, so let's get started talking about my positives. We got the action. The action here is great. The final battle scene with the skull crawlers. I cared about every minute of this action. Kong just fighting everyone, that was just awesome. Sitting in on my couch, being like, just sitting back and like seeing Kong destroy everything is amazing. This film is, sure, it centers on the characters, but I actually care about these characters because they're played by such great actors. John Goodman. First off, I love John Goodman. Ever since I've seen him in 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I've seen this film before I've seen 10 Cloverfield Lane. Ever since I've seen him in 10 Cloverfield Lane, I've loved him and everything I've seen him in, and he's great here. We got multiple Marvel actors. Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Samuel Jackson. The works here. They all do great. And that's what gets us as the audience to start caring about these characters. Now, the action, amazing, and the characters, amazing. We also got the story. I really like the story, and each time I watch this film, I learn something new about the story. Each time I'm identifying it, and I'm like, okay, look, John Goodman went to this island, because there's so much lore around this universe. So much lore around the Kong story in Skull Island. I wouldn't mind seeing a Skull Island sequel. So the story, it was written really great. Cast, already mentioned that. The graphics, already mentioned that. They're stunning. I can rewatch this film any day. In fact, I was really sick, and I still really enjoyed rewatching it. Normally, when I'm really sick and watch movies, I'm focused on me instead of the actual movie, and I still forgot I was sick watching the movie, because this film is stunning. Everything about it is great, and everyone who says they don't like this film, I just don't know why. Maybe the fact that they don't like the characters. I love the characters. I think this is a film that had the most potential, used all the potential wisely. It's a definite watch, and if they actually replayed this in theaters, I would 100% go see it in theaters. But I want to know your ranking down below. I want you guys to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell. What is your ranking of the Monsterverse? What do you think of the Monsterverse? Is this a good universe? Was my ranking correct? Was it incorrect? You're probably going to say it's incorrect because a lot of you don't like Kong Skull Island. But I love it. Anyways, going to go see Snake Eyes tomorrow night. Stay tuned for a review. Possibly Monday. I don't really upload on Sundays, so this will probably posted on Monday or Tuesday, sometime next week. Also, I don't really have any news. Just subscribe to the like button, hit the bell, comment down below. What are your opinions on the Monsterverse, and what would you rank it? I do want to show off this Funko, though, because it's kind of hard. I'm still working on my studio. I want to show off Funko Pops in the background, so I do want to show you this Funko right here. It's Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong. My only Monsterverse Funko Pop. Look how neat he looks like. As much as I was very disappointed in the movie, I'm not disappointed in those Funko Pops. So I want to know what you thought down below. Subscribe, like button, hit the bell. Stay tuned for Snake Eyes review and so much more reviews. I'm probably going to start watching the G.I. Joe live action movies for my ranking tonight. So with that said, thank you for clicking on this video. As always, make sure to subscribe to join the Nerd Army. Peace out. Now, the action, amazing, and the characters, amazing. We also got the story. I really like the story, and each time I watch this film, I learn something